hope you're ready for some illogic. Last time we went over our draft for 8-Bit Draft's Season 6 OU League, headlined by Tornadus-Therian featuring a Sand Duo and Drill and Mega T-Tar, familiar friend in Reuniclus, and my sleeper pick from Tier 2, Azumarill, among others. This time we'll be going over our Week 1 match against the SoCal Sobble Squad. Timestamps will be in the description. I faced off against this same coach back in Season 5, and frankly had a pretty easy time with it. If I'm remembering right, I had a bit of trouble with Magnezone being boosted by my Tapu Koko's terrain, but Mega Pidgeot went ham at the beginning of the game with Hurricanes and Heat Waves behind a substitute, taking care of big threats in Ferrothorn and Krookodile. This time his squad is interesting, to say the least. He had a very similar strategy to me in that we both used up all of our transactions post-draft, so this is the only time we had access to a couple of select mons. In particular, for his team, Virizion, Articuno, Galarian, and Mimikyu were dropped after this game for Cinccino, Buzzwole, and Gastrodon, which should have helped him quite a bit there with typings and speed. Before that point, however, we have plenty we can take advantage of. The rest of his team, of course, includes Regieleki, Mega Beedrill, Spectrier, Corviknight, Karacosta, Slowbro-Galarian, Pincurchin, and Stakataka. This is a weird one, especially when you look at those two things I mentioned before. Speed has to be the first point of attention, as Regieleki, Mega Beedrill, and Spectrier all outspeed my entire team. Very odd for sure, especially when you consider that Pincurchin and Stakataka underspeed my whole team. I may have extra room to manipulate my speed investments, but look how threatening those fast ones are and how devastating Triple could be on the other side. The other weird part would be the typings. Ghost and Ground weaknesses galore, and Spectrier, who really needs things that can beat Dark types, doesn't have anything resembling that except for the fragile Beedrill. Sitting in there too is the always tough to break Corviknight, who with its weaknesses of Electric and Fire has nothing really to support that. This is weird for sure, so let's go over what isn't coming and then what is coming. Pincurchin for him is just not good. It's slow, its terrain isn't going to help it much against my multiple ground types and strong bulk. I have lots of ground coverage for him, and about the worst thing I can do is set up a layer or two of spikes. It's on the team to support Regieleki, but Regieleki also has quite a poor matchup. Again, two ground types, plus things like T-Tar that can soak up its hits very well anyways. Regieleki doesn't have a way to break through mons that are already good in the matchup. We'll go over Karacosta next, who after a Shell Smash still doesn't really do all that much. It's tough bringing grass coverage to this matchup aside from this, but the threat poses isn't enough with how slow it is. About my whole team can 2-hit KO it anyways, so I don't see this posing too much of a problem. Stakataka's potential as a trick rower, but I have multiple answers. Again, the answers I can bring for something like Beedrill's offense can also be used for Stakataka's offense, so I'm not the most concerned, especially if I keep in mind its exploitable weaknesses. For the final pick, I think one of his two Psychic types ride the bench. I'm going to guess it's Slowbro, who provides yet another ground weakness and is again too slow to do anything, though it could definitely be an annoying pivot or hit hard on a bad switch of mine. I'll still expect Articuno to come over it though, as with her cover it makes it an obnoxious setup sweeper, and otherwise can use its speed and power effectively to break holes in the team. I'm quite convinced the other 5 will definitely come though, starting with Mimikyu, who has great priority, setup potential with SD, and can stop my own sweeps. Drain Punch plus Stabs can tear through my team, and I need to be careful and play around it as smoothly as possible. Virizion is a lower tier mon, but wow, does it have a good matchup. Most of my answers are lower tier mon, specifically Tangela, and its only week of eligibility, and Frostlass, with Tangela tanking everything and Frostlass outspeeding and hitting with ice moves. Otherwise, Torn can be at my Stone Edge, Palisand could eat up a Leaf Storm, Excadrill would need special coverage. I think it does enough in the matchup to justify it coming, and you may have noticed that all 3 of these mons I just mentioned are the ones he's dropping, so I'm guessing he brings them once to try them and then move on. That leaves the top 3 that he keeps. Will be starting with Corviknight. At this point, I don't have Fire Stab on my team, and Hidden Power being out makes it tougher to get the coverage I need. Aside from Rotom, I need to find a special way to get around this behemoth. Next is Spectrier. Definitely a mon worthy of its first round pick, as without an answer to the call mindset, it will rip through a team. I do have 2 great answers this week in Mega T-Tar and Porygon-Z, but I'm still afraid about what it's capable of doing to the rest of my poor team. Finally, Mega Beedrill hits hard with adaptability. It's tough to punish it just switching around with U-turn. I'll need to prepare physical defense for sure. So for my side, it's sad, but Reuniclus will need to ride the bench week 1. My 3rd round pick is weak to Spectre and Mimikyu and Beedrill stab moves, all of which I expect to come and all of which can destroy the blob, and I don't have the greatest switch-ins too. Unfortunate, but we'll find plenty more opportunities for it to come later. Frostlass is the next ride the bench with very similar issues. Reuniclus could work better against Trick Room, but Frostlass's speed being below a couple of threats still works against it. I cannot afford to go Scarf Frostlass, which doesn't outspeed a Regieleki. Even with that, and the power and coverage is pretty good, but not really enough. Druddigon won't be coming in its only opportunity, though I very much appreciated the idea of using Rough Skin against some of the big threats. It isn't quite tanky enough, is susceptible to coverage, can't beat Corviknight, not enough in any capacity. The same is true with Tangela, which is absolutely a shame, but the special attackers are a problem, not to mention Beedrill still hitting super effectively on the physical side, as well as the Corviknight problem. Finally, this might be weird, but I left Excadrill behind. A ground type, sure, great coverage, sure, but the Corviknight problem proved to be too much to me in the end. Outsped by too much and unable to break through things like Corviknight while being susceptible to Trick Room. I have a couple other options, which I can present to you now. To start, Tornadus-Therian, my first round pick, is wielding a familiar set. Potentially standard, but a definite winner. U-turn and knockoff are often hailed as two of the best moves in the entire game, and you know I'm a big fan of the disruption they cause. Air Slash is used over Hurricane for accuracy, though Hurricane could have been used to ensure the OHKO on Virizion. Finally, Taunt is the move I've come to appreciate the most, and is our foremost tool against Corviknight in particular. Otherwise, that Rocky Helmet is key for switching on his physically offensive threats and wearing them down, particularly Beedrill, Mimikyu, and non-Stone Edge Virizion. Pretty standard, pretty solid. Speed for max speed Virizion, though I could see it coming scarfed, and generally a good switch-in into Virizion in general. So let's move on to the Mega T-Tar, which is not running a physical move this week because this is my number one check to Spectrier, and I do not want to attack while hitting that obvious Will-O-Wisp burn that it's going to inflict onto me. Dark Pulse will do just fine, I think, and lets me hit Corviknight hard with Fire Blast on the special side as well. Otherwise, Thunderwave is absolutely amazing to help deal with the fast threats that come in, or if Spectrier decides to stay in. Finally, Stealth Rock is neat if I want to get some chip onto threats like that Beedrill or force a Defrog from Corv. Neat set, not planning on using it aside from countering Articuno and especially Spectrier, but we'll see what the circumstances of the game lead us to do. Next up is going to be a dangerous Azumarill set, Belly Drum with Aqua Jet and coverage. Yikes, at +6, Aqua Jet OHKOs everything that outspeeds it aside from Corviknight, assuming that it's even running any speed, because I have enough speed to beat an uninvested Corviknight in speed and be able to OHKO with knockoff, and the other is the Virizion. And it's another reason why I think Virizion's a must-bring. Azu hits hard even outside of the Belly Drum, but with it, it goes to a whole nother level. It's a little bit tricky finding a chance to Belly Drum, so maneuvering in and out may be necessary. Maybe settling on something like a taunted Corviknight. I don't know, we'll see. Should be at least useful to pick off things like a weakened Beedrill or Spectre with Aqua Jet, and maybe even hit a predicted Virizion switch with Play Rough. So let's move to our fastest member. That is going to be Rotom, who does outspeed most threats thanks to the Scarf, alongside Volt Switch and Lee Storm for easy pivoting, power, and coverage. Willow is nice to neuter something like Virizion in particular, as well as getting some chip onto other targets and being good neutral play. And in the end, I chose Defog for my last move as an emergency option in case of a random Pincurchin setting up spikes. Aside from the speed, the other thing that most inspired me to bring Rotom is the lack of electric immunity on his team, meaning any time it comes in, Rotom is free to Volt Switch around if desired. Great pick for the week, in my humble opinion. Next, it is our only chance to bring the Porygon-Z, and I'm trying to make it count with choice specs, though I'm looking primarily at the Thunderbolt and Shadow Ball as coverage. These two moves are incredibly spammable, so imagine the power behind them with a download boost and the pair of specs. Tri-Attack with adaptability is strong. The other two moves are so much more spammable that I prefer to find a switch-in opportunity that gives me a special attack boost to just go off. And Spectrier plus the Steel types would have to be gone too for Tri-Attack to be spammable. That and Ice Beam as a final slot can hit the Virizion on a predicted switch-in, one that outspeeds me and has good SPDF to boot. So finally, my old reliable Sandcastle friend Palisand here is here to double up on some of what Tornadus is accomplishing. While Torn is better against things like Mimikyu or Virizion, Mimikyu works better against Beedrill in particular, as well as Stakataka if it comes. You see, I'm going full physically defensive here, as I don't really need anything else if this is my dedicated Beedrill answer. Then, if I predict a switch, I can get off a Shadow Ball, or a Scorching Sands and burn, or heal right up for the next time Beedrill comes in. Or, if I'm feeling real spicy, you know, Virizion and Corviknight kind of wall me, so if I haven't paralyzed them yet or burned them, why not try for Hypnosis? Giving myself a free switch from the sleep status could be game-winning, especially if it lasts two turns, so we get Porygon to come in and just nuke something, or Azumarill gets to set up off of it. High reward, medium risk play, in my opinion. And my matchup overall seems to be good enough that I might be able to get away with it. Let's try it at least, and head over to the match itself. A little bit surprising with Slowbro-Galar over Articuno-Galar, but the much more surprising thing is the Stakataka showing up over Mimikyu. That disguise ability would have been a major issue for my setup sweeper, and I'm so glad to not see it here. Trick Room is of course an option, probably the main reason Slowbro is here, but it doesn't make me too much more worried. Palestine becomes much more important though here, as by far the best Stakataka answer. It means I can flip into Tornadus more often on things like Beedrill. Oh well, Rotom outspeeds everything and is the easiest lead by far. Season 6 underway, good luck to Sign as Rotom leads against Beedrill. Ordinarily a poor matchup, but with the Scarf, Volt Switch is going to do an awesome amount of damage. So he does Mega Evolve, and that's going to do just about half. I don't like missing Will-O-Wisp, so we can go into Palisand for the obvious stab move and Poison Jab. Poisons, of course, though I do get the Rocky Helmet there. So my bad luck can't follow me here too, can it? That kind of sucks. I do need this Palisand a little bit healthy for the stack attack, and I just finished saying how I could go into Tornadus a little more, but I knew he was going to go for a poison or bug move, so I figured the resist would be a little better on a poison move, but that's pretty unfortunate. So now Beedrill's already down within range of another helmet hit if I stay in on him. So let's see. Tornadus is the one I can most easily toss in. Because this is already poison, I don't think he goes for a poison jab. I think probably U-turn is the most likely. So let's just go into that turn, as he does in fact U-turn out. 28% is a good bit, but it's regeneratable. Again, we've got him down into helmet range, again, because of the half health from Volt Switch and 2 helmet shots. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. The issue, that threat is taken care of. That is nice. That's one of the biggest reasons why I have 2 helmet mons here, is for that Beedrill, knowing that I wouldn't be able to just swap anything into it. So seeing that down that low is amazing. However, Stakataka was a threat I wasn't really anticipating coming, and again, I need to have this Palisand here for it. So Palisand is literally only here for those 2 mons. It's going to have to come back in here, because I cannot touch this thing with Torn. Can you turn to break anything like a Focus Sash, anything like that? He does Trick Room up, which makes sense. I could have tried to taunt, but I could not possibly risk how much damage that Gyro Ball could do, how much a Stone Edge could do. No reason at all to stay in when Tornadus is a very valuable mon to me, and Palisand is here to counter this. And by counter, I do mean counter, because even with 67% on the Palisand, I could make a short play, but I can probably just do a ton to this as well. This does underspeed me. If he switches, it could be nice to keep myself healthy with that shore up, but I am only missing a third right now. It insulates me from a double he could pull over the next couple turns, but this is all I'm here for. Let's just click the Scorching Sands. It's not like he's going to be choice banned. He set up the Trick Room, so we know there that he's not going to be so overpowered with the Gyro Ball that's probably incoming. Gyro Ball does come in, 36, oh my goodness. Scorching Sands in return will pick up the KO. So, first KO of the season for the Bouffalant. Well done by my precious little sandcastle. Palisand did its job. Again, this was only here for those 2 months, for the Stakataka and for the Beedrill. So seeing those 2 solo, the Stakataka gone, the Beedrill in range, I could just sack this thing off for 2 KO Beedrill later, honestly. That's what I wanted this tier 5 mon for. This feels like a pretty good pickup. And now for an interesting play here. He is going to bring in, after a little round of poison, his Spectrier. So I'm figuring that one of 2 things is happening here. One, he has maybe forgotten that Trick Room is still up, because the Spectrier is obviously way faster than my Sandcastle. Or number 2, he's playing based off of me forgetting Trick Room is up. Either way, I don't see a Ghost Resist on his team, and Palisand has done its job. So why not just try and get a little bit more damage off with Shadow Ball? Let's just stay in and do it. I mean, I'm going to outspeed, so why not? Indeed, maybe reading a switch into T-Tower, maybe minimizing damage. He doubles out into Virizion with taking a reasonable 22%. That's not bad. I'm not asking for Palisand with no investment to Oko a Spadef Beast like this. from neutral hit, so I'll take that. So now what? Palisand can get another hit in for sure if it really wants to. But it's going down this next turn because of that poison from earlier. Potentially a grass move is coming in. Maybe rock. I kind of doubt that. I don't think there's any chance he clicks close combat, though. I don't think there's a chance of that at all. Maybe knowing that, I can maneuver around a little bit and preserve my sandcastle for a cheeky last-ditch Rocky Helmet hit later on the Beedrill. Knowing he can't click close combat, let's go for Porygon. And he's going to triple switch into Corviknight, interestingly enough. Okay. I have an opportunity to set up here, or rather I don't have set up, I have an opportunity to just click a button here. Probably T-Bolt is the most straightforward here, but is that worth it? I could end up eating a body press for no reason. I'm outsped, probably by this Corviknight in the Trick Room. So on this answer, I have a way better answer if I'm worried about a body press or anything else. So on the last turn, I'm going to double out into that Tornadus on a Bulk Up. Trick Room threat is over. That's pretty nice. Taunt incoming, stopping another Bulk Up from Corv, and that feels pretty good too. This really is one of the best ways I have to deal with Corv. I do wish I'd been able to stay in and maybe click that T-Bolt though with Porygon. That would have been pretty sick. Well, we can force some Rocky Helmet recoil here from the Taunt, which is pretty nice. And we can take away his options as well with a nice little knockoff, which is going to remove his helmet. So both of us at this point are down to just about 70%, but I still have my helmet, and I still have Taunt, which is pretty nice. My recover is way easier to pull off than his because he can't roost while he's taunted. I don't think he stays in, so I think I'm just going to click knockoff again. And he stays in, but the crit at least does 20%. That's something. He's going to stay and take more recoil. I may not have Heat Wave, but I'm clearly threatening him too much for him to stay, so Taunt wears off, and if there's misplay this game, I think this would be the turn. I lose nothing by taunting, but I let him roost on my knockoff, as I again incorrectly predict a switch out, which is kind of, I'm not sure what I expected, not sure what I was losing by staying in. Maybe I was worried about an aggressive Beedrill switch. I am really not sure. This is fine though. I'm just taunting one turn later, I suppose. And from the looks of things, maybe Body Press is his only move he has, so maybe I'm going to U-turn out, get some Regenerate Health back, and go into the Azumarill. Okay, cool. So I don't actually have a great way to deal with this unless I drum, but Virizion is still up, and I can't just drum like that. Instead, I think I'm going to actually make a safe double back into Tornadus, who can continue to pressure that Corviknight stays in, and otherwise annihilates Virizion if he makes that switch too. And the play works pretty beautifully. In comes that Virizion, and kind of makes me wish I just clicked player off, but that's fine. We're up at 75% after regenerating some health. We don't know anything about this Virizion right now, so no use in being too cheeky. Then again, I survived Stone Edge. I would love to find out if this is Scarf or not. I have an opportunity to keep things moving here. I think I'm just going to get some U-turn to get some chip and bait something out. But he does switch, showing he's probably not Scarf Stone Edge, at least, into the Corviknight. That's an easy switch into this Rotom. Rotom, again, no immunities to Volt Switch, so Rotom gets to pivot around all day long. However, I do see an opportunity here to set up with something. I'm going to Will-O-Wisp here. As if he stays in to take the chip, he'd be unable to threaten a Azumarill, as well as the Porygon, who can come in and get a huge hit too. Unfortunately, he decides to sack the Beedrill here, and I've only helped him with this task. Volt Switch was easier, safer play, but this felt a little more fun. But I can still guarantee knocking this out with a swap into Torn, as he actually clicks Giga Impact of all things to send it packing thanks to that helmet. Now it's 6-4. He reveals the Slowbro-Galar. What is this thing trying to do? Oh well, I see no reason not to just stay in and knock off. Torn, again, has been the go-to piece, and I'm not sure what the best option is, so that's interesting. I have no problem risking in this situation, but my patience here is rewarded as he goes to Virizion. That's really interesting, and it'll take an attack raise. I get rid of the weakness policy of all things that's going to come off here. That's pretty interesting. Maybe trying to use something like Reuniclus or T-Tar as setup bait. I'm really not sure. Either way, I can guarantee now that it doesn't outspeed me. It does not have a Scarf. Even if it had a Scarf, it has been knocked off, which is pretty great. So let's just keep clicking buttons, click Air Slash, and that's going to go down. That's 6v3 now. Azumarill may have just been gifted the win with Virizion going down. And we're going to start looking for the 6-0 here, actually. Just too much over prediction for the opponent, and Torn is able to stay in. We've seen this Song of Dance before. Spectrier is going to be the next one in. And without a reason to do anything, I can finally go into my T-Tart, eat up the Shadow Ball. 13%, that's delicious. I'm just going to Mega up and T-Wave, outspeed the other two Mons. This is a hard punish for Spectrier. Corv does eat it up. No reason to Fire Blast, though, when Torn is nice and healthy, and I don't want to be eating that Body Press. Easy prediction, eat up that too, buddy. Once again, Taunt is another easy play. So, of course, I'm going to make the silly aggressive play and knock off, and my Blind Faith is rewarded in an unexpected way, as Corv just Body Presses again. We take those, especially if it falls within knockoff range after the helmet recoil, 6-2. Slowbro is going to come in now as Sand ends. I mean, I'm just going to keep clicking knockoff. I'm not sure why I'd do anything else. We nab a Quick Claw, Belly Drum. Oh, that's not Regenerator. That's not a Regenerator, Slowbro. That's Quick Draw. I see how it could be possible to lose now. That will require 6 activations of Quick Draw. Even then, T-Tar is Sand. But what if he's Drain Punch? Oh no, you know how bad my luck is. I don't want to give him any more chances than he has, so I'm just going to stay in and knock yet again. If he doesn't activate Quick Draw. It doesn't. And Torn's able to get his 4th knockout of the match. And Spectrier is the last hope of the SoCal Sobble Squad. Mega T-Tar gets the call, of course. It is the safest option. Eats up Shadow Ball for breakfast. I can take 2 more pretty easily. A pair of Dark Pulses should be able to just finish off the match, I think. Yep, with Sand bringing down just barely 1%. This heavily special attack invested T-Tar will be able to pick up the final KO. We will secure the 6-0 victory to start off our 8-bit drafts Season 6 OU run. GG to Sign, or CNA, or whatever. For another good match, we're off to an incredible start to the season. +6 after 1 week and 1-0. We definitely needed to start things off on the right foot, considering how difficult the path ahead should probably end up being. Let's break it down how we got to this point. So Spectrier was the source of my opponent's overthinking, multiple times trying to bait me into swapping into T-Tar with Spectrier, only for me to realize that I never needed to, making his doubles into Virizion and Corviknight fall flat. In the end, I countered it pretty easily, and it fell harmlessly at the end of the match. His Slowbro was a gimmick, of course, but one that could have been scarier if he had turned up the pressure with it earlier in the game under Trick Room. As it was, he picked the worst mon to come in against with knockoff, and then failed to get the, 10% chance to grab a KO? Inconsistent set, if not super cool. Stack Attack is the partner Slowbro needed, but staying in on a poison Palisand, by far my best answer, was questionable. Imagine a game where I had to rely on getting Stack Attack low enough for Azu's Aqua Jet. That would have been tough to handle. Virizion really was threatening for my team, and again, he tried to bring it in multiple times through double switches, but I was able to read them and get into Torn appropriately in the end. Don't know what the set really was. Weakness Policy was kind of interesting, but something like Stone Edge being in there could have made it super difficult. Corviknight was tough to break through, but it only clicked Body Press as an attack. That's it. Makes me wish Palisand had stayed alive or not gotten poisoned. It might be the reason he got the chip off on Palisand earlier with Stack Attack. Neat mon, way too passive a set for the matchup. Finally, Beedrill hits hard, but really should have clicked Poison Jab in the end. Potentially could have saved a bunch of hassle with Torn staying in forever. Glad I could chip it down so effectively. The Volt at the beginning helped tremendously. For my side, Torn was the easy match MVP. Shutting down Corviknight, destroying Slowbro, KOing Beedrill with Helmet, and claiming the easy knockout on Virizion the threat. Perfect set for the match. Easy. T-Tar did its job. Beat Spectrier, not coming into or beating anything else. Simple and effective. Even simpler were Azumarill and Porygon-Z, who didn't do anything. I doubled out of both of them, only showing their faces for scare factor and to bring in another threat while getting Regenerator health for Torn. Effective. Could have tried to play rough with Azu, or maybe just click a button with Porygon, but I'd say things turned out alright. Rotom's Scarf was perfect. Wish I could have Volt switched more often, but it was more threatening enough to stop all sorts of shenanigans. Made me feel safe with it in my back pocket. Finally, Palisand had one of the better Week 1 performances for a Tier 5 mon. OHKOing Stack Attack and chipping Virizion and Beedrill. Does it get much better than that for Tier 5? That's what it was here for, and that's all I was asking of it. And it executed. Awesome. That'll wrap things up this time, but the goings get tough starting Week 2 as we face Granbell and his Boston Sceptiles. See ya.